Alright, so seeing as I've returned on YouTube again, and the fact that a new Transformers movie is coming out, I thought it would be time that I finally show you just how much of a big Transformers fan I truly am. Just to preface this review, I am going to tell you that I grew up with the G1 Transformers show. I grew up with Transformers Animated, Transformers Prime, the video games, War for Cybertron, and the sequel, Fall of Cybertron. I grew up on pretty much everything Transformers. I haven't watched it all, but one of the biggest Transformers media that I've grown up on is these movies, actually. I remember going to the theater and watching this as a kid. I really do have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. Like, I remember the freaking toy commercial.
The Transformers War has invaded our world, and the Earth is no match for the evil Decepticons. Led by Megatron's hunger for power, they will destroy anything in their way. Disguised as Earth vehicles, Optimus Prime and the heroic Autobots have the power to protect the world from the destruction of the Decepticons. The battle's beginning. Which side are you on? Autobot or Decepticon? Transformers figures each sold separately. Actual change time will vary.
Yeah, that is down memory lane for me. And also the trailer, the official trailer for this movie when it came out. I remember watching that as a kid. So yeah, Transformers has a big place in my life, and I can't believe that I've never talked about Transformers ever in a video on my channel before. It's crazy to me, but this is that time. Believe me, I am the biggest Transformers fan that I know. Anyway, right off the bat, the first amazing action scene of this movie, yeah, I said amazing because it is that good, is the scene that shows Blackout, because I know all of their names, transforming in front of a bunch of soldiers who don't know what the hell this thing is. And it's really cool because he makes that iconic Transformers sound, the sound from the G1 cartoon that I mentioned. Then we cut straight from that really cool action scene to Sam Witwicky in high school, and the movie just kind of goes like this. And that's not me saying that the movie is, bad in any sense. It's just that we came off that really cool action scene to a kid in high school. So the tones here are very conflicting. And I'm also not saying that there's any problem with, showing a kid in high school in a Transformers movie. In fact, a lot of, the Transformers shows that I grew up on that are made for kids that did focus a lot on the Transformers also focused a fair bit on the human characters. So one of the biggest complaints that these movies get is that they focus too much on the humans, and that is true for some parts, but not entirely, as that's what Transformers has always done. I feel though this movie would have benefited more from focusing more on the soldiers, like showing them escape and then maybe cutting to Sam would have been a bit more natural instead of going from Blackout just destroying everything to then this quick cut into Sam in high school. Anyway, there is one thing that I actually do like about that scene with Sam in high school, is that when he's explaining his great-great-grandfather's stuff that he's trying to auction off, while he's explaining it, it cuts back to his grandfather back in 18 whatever, as him and his men are trying to dig their ship out of the ice, and they didn't have to cut back to this at all. They could have just had Sam say it. And this movie and future movies does that quite a bit, where they cut back to things that they're referencing or that they're talking about, and they don't have to. There's no real need to, but they do it anyway, and it shows the effort that they're actually putting into the production. Like, if you look at that scene where Sam is explaining his grandfather's stuff to his schoolmates, it's much simpler if they just shoot, Shia LaBeouf saying his line. They didn't have to cut back to it. And then when you look at what they cut back to, with this giant ship in the ice, and all these people having to dig the ship out of the ice to get it moving again, all of that stuff would have taken a lot of time and effort just to have, like, a few minutes of screen time showing this period of time, focusing on Sam's great-great-grandfather. They didn't have to, but they put all that effort into it anyway, so why not? I kind of admire that about the production of this movie. Speaking of Shia LaBeouf, he gets a lot of hate in these movies for that. But I do want to say, I actually kind of like him. He puts a lot of energy into this role, and he makes it his own. There are, for me, a few great scenes that are actually funny. There is one scene in this movie where Sam's riding along on a girl push bike, falls over in front of Michaela, played by Megan Fox, and it was just a funny scene.
Are you okay?
I'm not okay, alright? I'm losing my mind a little bit. I'm getting chased by my car right now. I gotta go.
You know, if you're sitting there, got your brain switched off and you're just, you know, enjoying the movie for what it is, I laughed. I laugh every time I watch it. And yes, I do rewatch this movie quite a bit. So I think this movie and the other Transformers movies, you know, the ones that are actually watchable, they are very exciting movies, but at the same time they can have some really ridiculous moments that you can just like sit back and laugh at, which I can't say is a bad thing. Like if the movie is entertaining you in that way, then they can't be all bad. However, for this movie, you know, the first live action Transformers movie, it's very long, and a lot of that runtime is dedicated to, I think, too many humans. I would have been fine if it just had focused on Josh Duhamel's character and Sam Witwicky. If it had just focused on them, that would have been fine. But then it goes many steps further and focuses on way too many humans, like Rachel Taylor's character, John Turturro's character, and Jon Voight's character as well, when we really didn't need to focus on them at all. Like if you took their, I don't know, parts of this movie out, would not have mattered. But as soon as we get to the third act, man, shit gets freaking real, and I love it. Can I just say that the CGI for this movie is actually really good, better than I think the more recent Transformers movies. You can see dust particles on like Ironhide's chest in the third act, and the actual transformations are not as simple as G1, but they're also pretty complicated, but not too complicated. They're like right in the middle, where they're complicated enough to make it cool, but not too complicated, or it's just stupid. I'm looking at you, Age of Extinction. The third act, as I mentioned, is just amazing. You have Mikaela driving through the city with Bumblebee shooting down Decepticons, Starscream going up against those fighter jets, and of course Optimus versus Megatron, which is always fun to see. Anyway, I guess that's my review for the 2007 live-action release of Transformers, directed by Michael Bay, starring Shia LaBeouf. But yeah, can't wait to talk about Revenge of the Fallen, because I remember hating that as a kid, but have recently changed slightly. I don't know. It can't be all bad, can it? Alright, so seeing as I have returned, finally show you guys just how much of a big Star Wars... Not Star Wars. Fuck you. And the soundtrack for this movie is very good as well, done by... can't remember his name.